Hi, I'm Christy, and this is my Learning Second Language Literacy Development post for the discussion board. So I made a response to the That's a Great Answer reading that we had. And a couple areas that challenged me were how I could be more intentional and explicit in building a culture of collective talk. So in my classroom, I always create a really inclusive, welcoming environment, but we need to remember to tailor that specifically to talking in collaborative discussions. So that's one area that challenged me. And another area that challenged me was how oftentimes, as the article states, we skip the revising and editing steps of reading. The reading process should be just like the writing process, and I have to say that's something that has challenged me and made me think, oh, I could be doing more to make this better for my students. So, for the first point, the resource provided me with a better understanding of what uncollaborative collaboration was, and when it talked about how oftentimes there's a student left out, and that just hit so many light bulbs in my head, because there's so many times when you notice that a student doesn't have a partner, and then you work to get that student a partner, and then by the time you have rearranged groupings and created partners for all the people that need partners, then all the people who've been discussing since the beginning, well, they've finished their conversation and they are just waiting. And that's when things get a little out of hand, because then they start talking about other things or being silly, especially with the younger grades. So there are a lot of things that could go wrong and not have the desired effect, especially for the kids that need that collaborative talk, like our ELL students and our students who are shy and quiet and tentative to talk. So some practical applications that I've taken from this are to have more explicit and exact explanations and modeling, not just about what turn and talk looks like on this poster, knees to knees, eyes to eyes, one friend talks, other friend listens, then switch. There's more that needs to go into it than that. And I liked in the reading how it said we need to be explicitly telling these expectations. They need to be talking about the topic, they need to stay focused, they need to take turns with both team members contributing, and they need to make sure that no one else in the class is left out. They need to know that this is their responsibility to do. So beyond just how to sit, how to talk, there are other aspects that they need to be focused on. Also, I included the graphic, I do, we do, you do. So as the teacher, it's my job to show them how to do this. They aren't just going to inherently know how to include people in their group. So it's important that the blue strip, I do, me, you, teachers. We have to model what we want them to do, what we want them to say. And I really liked the we do section that she had in this paragraph, where she said, then I role play that I'm the kid who's left out, and I help students find the language to include students in our group. So oftentimes, maybe the students recognize that someone's left out and they know that maybe they should be incorporating other people into their group, but they don't quite know how. And I've had in the past students tell me that they notice someone is left out, and I remind them, oh, well, we can be a group of 3, they can join in, ask them to join you. That's the step that a lot of them are missing, especially in the younger grades, which is what I teach. They don't have the language to say, hey, come join us. Like, we have an idea we want to share with you. Do you have an idea you want to share with us? So that step of explicitly teaching and practicing and modeling, and then having them purposefully practice that with each other so that everyone knows what to do when that comes. And another great thing that I liked in this reading was how at the very end there was the oral collaboration rubric for the teachers, but there was also a modeled example of an oral collaboration checklist for the students to complete. Now, especially with ELLs, this might be a bit of an advanced checklist, but You could simplify it by adding pictures or using more simplistic language and really going over it together to make sure everybody understands what all those parts are. That's a really great way for them to check in with themselves about how they're doing, and for you to check in and see, because maybe you can't hear everybody's conversations. You can't be a part of everyone's conversations all the time. So it's good to get this input directly from the students on their views of how things went and how things could change. So to tailor this group talk, collaborative talking appropriately, based on the ELL's current level, it would be like, what are you expecting from this student in this collaborative talk? Maybe some students aren't at the level where they are able to speak and share all their ideas that they have. Maybe they're at a level where they contribute by nodding, or maybe they're at a level where they contribute by just listening, or maybe they're at a level where they can draw a picture to help explain the idea. So basing those expectations realistically for what level they're at, and to remember that everyone can contribute their ideas to the group, and also to remember that some people are getting the most out of it that they can by being in a group that's comfortable having them there and happy to explain and have them there, even if they're not joining in on any talk. I just rambled a lot on that slide. So I really liked this quote and I wanted to include it. It's easy to see why teachers are happy to skip this step in the learning process. But we shouldn't be so quick to abandon talk about the text, because if we do, we're leaving a big hole in literacy learning. Now, part of this big hole leads into my second challenge here, and it was that oftentimes in writing we keep all 5 of these steps, but in reading we miss out on the revising and editing steps, which relate back to this quote, because those are the talking about the text steps. That is the whole that they are referencing. So these 2 shaded boxes, returning to the text, revising, talking about it, thinking about it, sharing points of view, collaborating, and then thinking about the way that you're going to say what your ideas are and the way that you're going to organize what you're saying. That is a step that we work hard on in writing, but in reading, it's important too, to think about everything that's happening. So some practical applications that this reading suggested were to, I just moved my screen, were to have some small group work. Have that collaborative discussion between the students. This creates a relaxed atmosphere where students will be more willing to contribute ideas. Maybe they didn't even know they had these ideas, but this is a low threat environment, and the other students are sharing their ideas, which might prompt other students to have things to say, and they could shock themselves if they were sitting there on their own. They might not have something to come up with, but speaking in this collaborative group, they can boost their confidence and their competence in what they're doing, in their reading. So in this bit of partner talk, they can actually try out their words, revise their words, edit their words, and have their ideas being revised and edited while they're having this conversation. And so something in particular that I would think about based on the ELL's current level is, am I creating these groups, or are the students creating these groups on their own? What sort of supports from the other students do we need to have in this group? Do we want mixed groupings with more proficient speakers mixed with ELLs? Do we want groupings based on levels that they're at? Now, this depends on the context and the content of what you're working on. Also, in the groups, when you're sharing ideas and bouncing off each other, it would be great to have a variety of people in the group who maybe have different backgrounds and different prior knowledge, so they can share these ideas and actually affect someone else's idea and change them. Another thing that I would that would influence my appropriate reading strategies would be the level of support that I provide for that group or for that ELL. Maybe some students are good with this collaboration discussion on their own. Maybe some groups need a little bit more of teacher support and teacher guidance, prompting what to talk about or what they could discuss. Whereas other groups that maybe are at a higher level can do more of this on their own. All right, well, thanks for watching my video. This is my first time doing this, and it feels really funny talking to a screen. Have a good day.